What's up, guys? Matt here, coming at you with a quick look at some upgrades from NexxSpeed that they sent over to check out. We've got a couple different sets of wheels. These right here, right offhand, look pretty interesting. They've got this new insert here that I don't fully understand. We're gonna have to check this one out. It's got some weights in there. You can see this is kind of like a printed piece with weights in it. I assume, we're gonna have to run some type of foam over top of this just because this is very, very stiff. So kind of curious to see how this is going to work out. So I'll definitely be tossing these together to test them out. You can see this set here come with like a brass inner ring here, and then these I guess we would use on the front. Maybe that'll work as like a dual stage. I don't know. This is not going to allow for a lot of foam with a lot of different tires, so we'll have to see how those work out. Really not too sure about that, but it's an interesting new thing to check out. And then I've got this carbon fiber chassis for an FCX24, so very interested in checking that out. It's a aluminum / carbon fiber, so we've got the aluminum rails and skid and stuff, and then some carbon fiber pieces in there, trays and stuff. So I've kind of gotten rid of most of the extra FCXs I have around. I used to have like probably 8 or 10 sitting around that were just stock that I would just let people run. I'm kind of down to just a couple. This is one of them, so probably going to swap this onto here. We'll just see what a 100% stock truck does with this chassis and maybe this servo. So this is a servo for the FCX24 as well. You can see it comes with the plug that we need to plug directly into the FCX. And this should be a pretty good servo. I'll have to check the specs on it, but I've seen these before and considered them and thought about buying one just to try it. And then they actually asked me if I'd be interested in checking them out. So obviously I said yes. I'm definitely going to check these out. It's not going to sway my opinion at all. I don't really know how these are going to work out. I'll be honest about that. These are like a 1.2 wheel, I guess, for a stock swap. So maybe, I don't know. I really want to try these out, so we'll probably go with those. But those are some pretty sweet looking wheels as well. And then we've got this chassis that we're definitely going to check out. This should be a good option just to swap a stock truck over, be able to keep our shift servo and our 2-speed transmission and everything, since this is made for the FCX. So I'm going to get this stuff installed so you don't have to sit here and watch some boring sped up video with some stupid music, and then we'll go run this thing and talk a little bit about some of this stuff, like especially these things. Very interested to see how this is going to work out. So I'm going to get this stuff installed, and then we'll talk about it some more while we run it. All right, so I got the chassis built and I got the wheels installed. Real quick, we'll talk about these. I have the firm insert that they have with the brass slugs in it in the front, and that's it. No foam. So basically you have like nothing until you get to that firm inner ring with the brass slugs, and then it's very, very solid. So like there's tons of give here because there's nothing between the tire and that ring. But then once you hit that ring in there, there is no give. So I'm afraid we're going to get a lot of bounce out of that. On the rear, I have the brass inner ring that they sent with the stock foams from these tires. I put these tires on here just because I just ran them recently, and I was curious how this setup would work. They seem to fit these tires pretty well. The tires mounted up on the wheels pretty well. Didn't have any issues with them wanting to like not match up to the bead or anything. So curious to see how that ring works. I'll be very surprised if that works well, but you never know. That's why you try new stuff. So the chassis all went together pretty well. The directions aren't great. It does have the magnet mount system, and when you put this body on here, it actually lines up really well. The notches in the body here kind of hit on the chassis. It keeps the side to side, but you can see the problem with magnet mounts for me, anytime I really put this in a bad spot and I get a rock just hits the body a little bit, like that happens. So that's why I'm not a big fan of magnet mounts. I would probably just put Velcro on this if I was going to be running it most of the time. I just built it like it is just so we could see how it's supposed to be built. But for me, the magnets, they just don't work very well. You really have to do a lot to lock a body in place, or it's just going to move around a lot. With this body having kind of, this system built into it, if I'm going to do anything and keep the stock body, I'd just sooner use these tabs. Some people don't like these, but I mean, these are the easiest thing ever for me. I don't know why people struggle with these. But, the magnet mounts are nice and clean. It goes on there pretty easy. So if you're not doing a lot of really rough stuff, you'll probably be okay. But I'm not a fan of magnet mounts. And I'm not a fan of this entire chassis is this nice aluminum. And then we have this 3D printed piece for our body mounts. So I don't understand why they did that, but I don't really like it. The rest of the chassis, the skid, it actually is a little more flat. The stock setup, as you know, has this like bubble down here. And this chassis is like super light. We just don't have very many mounting options. This gives us more upper link mount options and shock mount options. So that's a plus. Your shocks are probably going to need to be spaced out. You'll see these are binding pretty bad. A lot of that has to do with the angle that they're cocked in. They probably, I doubt these even have the oil in them. I don't think I ever put the rings in here and put oil in them. So that would probably help as well, but definitely gonna have to do something with that because this thing is a mess right now. It's kind of tight getting like the ESC and stuff in here. I wedged mine in underneath this mount and made the battery just kind of fit. The battery fits so tight there that I don't even need a strap. So everything went together, like I said, really well. If I'm gonna go this route, I'm probably not gonna run this big, heavy body. I'm just gonna change the body as well. So it's something to consider at least. This servo from NexxSpeed is actually really good. And I'll have to try to find the specs on this and put it up on the screen. But it seems to be really good. I'll fire this up and show you this servo. And then we're gonna go test this because I'm really mostly interested in that. So you can see this servo is pretty quick, very responsive. Seems like it's gonna have good power. I mean, definitely gonna have more than this stock steering link can handle. We definitely probably need to change that out. This is just a truck that really doesn't get ran much, so I haven't did any of those upgrades to it. But one thing probably need to do is dial the endpoints down a little bit. You can see how that maxes out, and then it's pushing a little farther, bending that link. So that's something to check. See how that's really putting stress on there. That's hard on the servo as well, but this thing, I mean, it bolts straight up. It plugs directly into your stock system. So pretty solid upgrade, I think, on this servo. Seems to work really well. So maybe we'll go try to run both of these a little bit and just kind of see how this setup performs. This thing has nothing done to it, no weight added, nowhere, nothing going on but this chassis and servo now.
So first off, I'm just going to apologize for the loud noise coming from this truck. This thing has been like that since day one out of the box. This is basically like a loaner truck. If we go crawling and we're running the 24s and somebody don't have a 24, if you're not willing to buy your own, you get to drive the pink truck. That's just how it is. I expected the thing to like eventually something break, something give. It probably just needs some grease or something. I don't know. Pinion adjusted. I don't know why it's so loud, but I've never tore into it. I figured, something would give, something would break. It's a loaner truck, but it's been solid. Like, I haven't had any issues with this thing, so I just leave it and just let it be. The noise really echoes throughout this body. But anyways, this chassis, like, you guys know, I'm pretty straight up about stuff. Like, I really wasn't super excited to build this. I just wasn't thrilled about this chassis, but the thing actually surprised me. especially, you know, it was kind of limited by the stock body. It's heavy. It's a lot of weight up top without adding any weight down low. Stock tires definitely limit what this thing can do, but I wanted you guys to see taking a stock truck and swapping this chassis onto it. And it actually performed really good. Obviously here, taking the body off, it does even better. So, you know, if you wanted to slap a Lexan body on this or something to get more performance, you could definitely do that. Or if you want to run the stock body, you can do that like you see. But I kind of wish the mounting system was a little different. I wish they'd maybe just included, you know, where the stock mounts would have fit, or something different where the magnets were captured to where the body didn't pop off so easily. You'll see every time I crash, the body just flies off. And I really didn't even put it in too bad of binds, but a couple times it was still kind of like popping off on me. So not a huge fan of the body mount. And it also, like, this truck had the bed on it stock, and the bed really didn't mount up well. There was magnets for like a rear mount, but it just didn't seem like the bed was going to work very well. So I just left it off. But, you know, this pink truck, it's just kind of fun. It's something different. The pink wheels, the pink body. It's kind of neat to just sometimes leave a truck sort of like this, you know, and not just all the time be going all out, just making a couple little simple changes and going out and having fun with something. And that definitely is the case with this. This chassis, I think, is a improvement, major improvement over stock. For around $50, I think this chassis comes in at. It's definitely a solid upgrade, I think. You know, like I said, we're kind of limited on chassis upgrades for this truck, where you keep the stock 2-speed with the shift servo and everything. And, you know, this is a pretty good option in my opinion. And for taking this thing from straight stock to this, not stretching the rear end or adding any weight, I think it was a pretty good improvement. The thing seemed to perform a little better. Obviously, if you go changing the tires out, you're going to get much better performance. If you stretch this a little bit, you know, these things are super short. As you can see there, it looks kind of odd, like very odd with the super short rear end. So if we extended the rear out, you're going to get better performance. But this is a solid upgrade, in my opinion, for the price. And the servo, definitely an improvement. The servo, it seems to outperform its numbers, in my opinion. Like it did really good. I tried to put it in some tough spots just here. Like, really, I was trying to get up in here and just kind of get it in a little bit of a bind and see what it would do, and never had any trouble turning the wheels with this servo. Very impressed with it. Coming in about $32 for just the servo with the aluminum horn, which is a direct plug and play with the FCX, is a pretty solid price to me. And then I think $39 you can get the aluminum servo mount if you want it as well. So a good option for sure. You know, you don't have to extend any wires, change any connectors, anything like that. It bolts straight up. You're good to go. So if you're looking for a pretty simple swap over from a stock chassis, you're not looking to go crazy custom with an SCX transmission or a TRX4M transmission and FCX axles and mixing and matching and figuring all that out. You just kind of like a simple swap over to something with a little more customization. You know, you've got more shock tuning options here, your upper link mount options, that sort of thing. This is a good way to go, and it seemed to help the truck. Obviously, I think the flat skid is really nice. It's cool that they did that. And overall, the performance of this thing seemed to be pretty good. You know, I didn't put all of the running I did in this video. They get long enough. But I did get a decent amount of time in with it. And for not doing anything to this truck, not fixing the shocks or anything, just taking it out and driving it, I was really impressed with how this thing ran. And I was actually surprised, you know, the body didn't pop off as bad as I thought it would. Obviously, every time I rolled kind of hard like I'm getting ready to do here, the body pops straight off. That's another thing. I'm just not huge about magnet mounts unless, like I said, they're captured, because I'm always chasing my body like that. But as far as overall just general driving, it didn't seem to lift or pop off for no reason. Just major binds and rolls, So that's always something we can work around. You can add a little bracket to the rear or something, to kind of hold that body on a little better. But the chassis itself, I think, is a solid upgrade. So I love my scratch builds and custom builds, but these FCXs are just so much fun with the stock 2-speed transmission in them. Being able to, they have such a good slow crawl out of the box. Stock motor and ESC is really good. Adding a chassis like this and a better servo really just takes them to the next level and really made this truck even more enjoyable than it already is. So, I think this is a good setup, and these trucks are just a lot of fun. I couldn't save it. Maybe if I'd been using both hands. Now, I was very curious how these inserts were going to work, and I still really don't think I know just yet. I'm going to have to test with these some more and some different tires. You'll see here, you kind of have to use the sidewall to get your rear tires over that lip at the bottom, because it's got a little overhang and it wants to loop you out. But usually when you get to this point right here, a good tire will hook that front left just enough, it will pull you over that. These tires have not did it, period. It wasn't anything to do with these inserts. I couldn't get it to do it with the stock foams in them. These tires have not really been that good out here. And somebody's going to cry in the comments that these are the greatest tires ever. And that's cool. If they work good for you, that's cool. But they kind of stink out here on this course. I'd be fine with taking them off and probably never running them again. I could see running them in some loose stuff. I'll probably leave them on some wheels and run them out in some loose, somewhere, maybe the creek or something. I don't know. Maybe they'll do better. They're just very aggressive tread patterns, and that don't really do that well out here on this course. And that's just how it is. So I've not really been able to get these tires to do any impressive lines out here, and these inserts didn't help that. They didn't get any better as far as that goes, but I think the sidewall was an improvement. And it's kind of interesting, I get a really good squish out of the front there all the way till it gets to that firm insert. I thought my battery died there, but so you get a good squish, and then you have that solid piece. So I don't know, I didn't really get enough time in with these because I honestly got frustrated with these tires. I try a crawl here in a minute that is pretty simple with a good tire, and this thing just would not do it. And that's kind of why I went straight to this, because I thought if these inserts have really, really improved these tires, it will do this. But these tires will not go up this climb right here for nothing. I killed 3 freaking batteries right here. And they're the small Palm Power Packs, but I killed 3 batteries just trying to get up this. And I didn't put all of that on here, but these tires suck when it comes to this climb right here. And that's just all there is to it. So I'm going to try to find some different tires that these inserts fit in a little better, and maybe we'll kind of revisit that, because I tried and tried for so long to get up this, and it just wasn't happening. I don't think it's a result of the insert, because they wouldn't even come close with the stock foams either. So I think it's just the tires. They just don't hook up well on this stuff. They're too aggressive, and I've said before that just doesn't really work on this. This is really high grip, and it's crazy how you get the big lugs and you're just losing contact area on something that's high grip like this. So they're actually performing worse than something with less meat to them, if it makes any sense. But I don't know. Like, these inserts didn't help these tires, but I mean, I don't think they really hurt them either. But it wasn't really a fair test for them because, boom, cat. It wasn't a good test. So I'm gonna install these into some different tires. Maybe I'll run I really love the Injora 64 millimeters. They do really good out here. They're just really good all around. These are supposed to be the same compound as those, the S5, but I will never believe that this set of these Swamp Claws that I have right here is S5 compound. Like, I mean, maybe it's just my set, but they just feel different. They have that more hollow sound on the rock when they're spinning. They just kind of like, it's like they sound like they're doing a lot, but they don't. And they just don't feel as good as the 64 millimeter, like Hyrex kind of knockoff tires. So maybe I'll try to use that inner ring from this wheel on another wheel in those Injoras. I don't know. Like, I'd like to see if that ring would work on any other wheels as well, just so we know if it can be changed out with other wheels. But if not, I'll remove these tires and put some Injora 64s on there, and we'll try this again, because I just don't feel like it's fair to say that the insert didn't work well when, in my opinion, the tire wasn't really working well in the first place. So I think these are a decent overall tire, and probably really good in some like loose stuff, like I said. But certain climbs out here, man, they just really stink. And you can see right there is as close as I ever got, and I just never could get. Usually the left front will kind of hook there, or you'll get the right to pull enough to get the left front over that rock and just kind of hooked on it, and you can pull yourself up. But I just never could get it to hook enough. And I know, the belly's kind of dragging there, but a good tire will pull that belly over that, and it's just not happening. I don't know. But I don't think it's anything to do with the inserts. I think it's more just the tires. So we're definitely going to change that out and retest and see how it is. But you guys let me know what you think about this stuff. I really appreciate NexxSpeed sending it over. And there's definitely more to come on these inserts. So I appreciate you guys. Peace.